Hello and welcome to Anti-Aging Mastery. I'm called Adrian, and I just wanted to take a few minutes before we dive into the course to congratulate you and to thank you for investing your hard-earned effort, time and money into yourself, into looking at a more holistic, a more natural way of approaching life. After all, you and I are from the natural world. We were made from every mouthful and every breath and every thought that our mothers had. And when our time here is done, we will go back to being part of the natural world as well. So if we are to take a more holistic, natural approach through our life, to our health, to our well-being, then I think, and my experience has been for the last 30 years, that we will have a much better time of things. Now, before we get started, I'd like to talk to you about a kind of framework, if you will, that will help you get the most juice, extract the most from this course. Number one is that we're not going to be wasting any time. I have taken what I've learned in the last 30 plus years of studying my own health, the health of friends and family, and of helping people for many years, and distilled that down into a bunch of core principles that we're going to be covering. Now, the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, is something that I have been living my life as a kind of guiding principle, if you will, for the last 3 or 4 years now. And it is incredibly powerful. And it's the 80-20 rule, as I prefer to call it, the 20-80 rule. That states that for 80% of the effects, there are just 20% causes. In other words, if you look at it from a business viewpoint or a business lens, 80% of your money comes from 20% of your customers. 80% of your effort only gets you 20% of your results. So what I've done with all the health stuff that we're going to be going through is to look down and say, right, what are the ones that give us the biggest bang for our buck, that can get us as far forward as we can with the least possible effort? Because to me, that's what life is all about now. As I turn 60 this year, and I want to get the most out of every moment I have right now, and to really enjoy it, to really squeeze all the juice out of it, all the experience, all the memories, everything. So that's the approach I'm going to be taking for this. And I want you to understand something, that this isn't about getting to a particular destination. This is about a journey that you're going to take and I'm going to take with you. And I'm going to impart into you and share with you everything I've studied, everything I've got, the most important things I know about holistic health, about being vibrant, being alive and being healthy at 55 plus. Now, I can't do this for you, and I'm hopeful that if you haven't already, you will very quickly get to the point where you're willing to take full self-responsibility for everything to do with your health, and in fact in all areas of your life. Because when you do that, that puts you back in the driving seat, and that makes you so incredibly powerful, because the only real thing you can change in your life is you and your behaviors and what you do and what you think. The rest of it, at best, we have some level of influence over. It's very important to use the course workbook that comes with this. We've put a lot of time and effort into designing that to make it very helpful for you. If you can, may I encourage you to print it out so that you can use a pen or a pencil on it. There's something really magical happens, and you're old enough to remember, if you're watching this, that when you write something down, you integrate it more. When you type stuff, my experience has been, and scientific research has confirmed this, that it's nowhere near as effective at being absorbed, integrated, and becomes part of you. So if you can, write it down, or perhaps put it onto some kind of e-reader so that you can actually use a stylus to write on it, because you're still getting the hand and eye thing going on. And worst case, at least type something into it. Use the book, it's there for you. There are several elements that we put in there for you. One is your health journal, and I'd encourage you, if you would, to visit this at least every day or every few days, and just pop in there your thoughts, your feelings, where you're at, what your aspirations are, what you're noticing about yourself. As we certainly get into some more of the exercises later on, that'll become more useful for you. There's a nutrition diary and a nutrition planner. I've gone vegetarian. I have been vegetarian for many, many decades. Before that, I was vegan. And before that, I was pretty much carnivore. That's my choice. We will get into that when we start talking about nutrition. It's really up to you which way you go. I'm simply going to share with you what I know and why I do that. There's a workout tracker, and when we get into the workout stuff and the stretching exercises, which are so powerful and so very important, you'll be able to keep track of that, because unless you're measuring something, you don't know whether you're making progress. So measuring stuff's really important. And also there's a place in there that you can make notes of your emotions, because this will be an emotional journey. As I've gone through this, more and more of my time now is spent on releasing trapped emotions, old memories that no longer serve me. And we'll get into that later on. But just a quick visit of that every day will be really very useful for you. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about mastery, and I'm going to refer back to Tony Robbins, a man I first came across probably 35 years ago now, and he's extraordinary at what he does. And he said something very profound, which I picked up on a very long time ago, which is complexity is the enemy of completion. Everything I do in this course, to the best of my ability, I will distill down and make it as simple and uncomplex, if that's a word, as possible for you. The next thing is that a lot of people around me continue to tell me that knowledge is power, and I would disagree with them. Knowledge is potential power. It's not power. Execution is power, and the reason for that is, I don't know if you've ever learned a really useful skill or something really useful and then never used it. You might as well not know it. In fact, what was that saying? To know and not to do is not to know. So I'm very hopeful that as we go through this, you will execute the ideas, the strategies, the techniques, the beliefs, everything that I give you in order to help you in your life move forwards. Because mastery comes from repetition. And that's one thing I'd suggest you get into, is start to do the stuff over and over and over and over again. What I found in my life, and we'll get to this a little later in the course, I'm just back from a 7-day intensive Carmen method workshop, which I'll tell you about in the alternative section. And in order that I didn't lose my way with my exercise routine that I do every day, even before we did all the stuff on that, and that was intensive, that was like 8-9 hours a day of doing specific stretches, exercises, etc. I did my own exercises, because I know if I'd missed 2 or 3 days or 7 days, pretty much when I get back, I probably wouldn't be doing them anymore. So repetition is the mother of skill. And a quick example for you, top athletes do this. I think it was Michael Jordan, the basketball player, and he's probably arguably one of the best, if not the best basketball players in the world. He used to practice every day. He would make 500 practice shots twice a day, which meant that during his career, that was 7,000 a week, around 20,000 a month, 30,000 a month. And by the time he finished his career, it was 4.3 million practice shots in order to make 24,000 winning shots. Repetition is the mother of skill, so that's what I'm going to encourage you to get into. The other thing I'd suggest to you with repetition, as you're doing this, pay attention to the quality of your implementation and integration of the ideas that I give you and the things that I'm going to suggest you do, and find ways to improve them yourself. Take a hold of it and make them yours and improve them. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you everything I've got that I think is relevant to health, relevant to being able to have a really vibrant, joyful, energized time. I have more energy now than I had in my 50s, certainly early 50s, and more than I had in my 40s, which is really cool. The next step to mastery is, well, there are 3 steps really, is cognition. Now, knowledge on its own does nothing, but we have to have the knowledge in order to know what to do with it. The next side to that is emotional mastery. With enough repetition, you get to know this emotionally and you feel it and you tend to do it more. The next one then is information without emotion is barely retained. So I'm going to ask you as we're doing this to really get yourself emotionally involved in this. When you're going through this with me, please shut off all the distractions, turn the phone onto airplane mode, or at least turn off all the notifications and focus and concentrate, because this is how you will get the most out of this. And we will create emotion with motion. I'm going to ask you to do some exercises at various times during this, including some which might feel a little strange when you first do them. If you will play full out with me on this and do everything I suggest, you can transform your life like so many of my friends and people I know have done with the things I've been talking to them about. And that doesn't mean I'm particularly clever, but what it does mean is I pay attention, I look for patterns, I look for things that work, and then I integrate them. So I'll be sharing that with you. So please do play full out. Don't sit there and go, well, yeah, that's nice. No, get up and get involved and really dive into it and feel the benefit of it, if you would, please. And then comes after that physical mastery, which is when you know automatically what to do. And probably a good example of that would be if you've learned how to drive a car, like a manual stick shift car as an example. when you first get in the car and you look at it, and you've got to adjust the pedals, you've got to move the gear lever, you've got to look at all the traffic, you've got to move the steering wheel, you've got to indicate, you've got to check your mirrors. It's pretty overwhelming. But if you've been driving for a number of years, it becomes literally automatic. And you have to pay attention, obviously, but you can find you can hold a conversation. You might be occupying your thoughts with other things, and you just do all the stuff automatically. And a lot of this will get to that point with you with enough repetition and enough practice. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about how you're going to get the most out of this as well. And for years, I used to look at people and think, how are they so successful when they lack skill? They don't seem to have particular knowledge of their subject, and yet they were amazingly successful at what they did. And I was trying to figure out what it was. So here's what I know. They know what they want. And they know, more importantly, why they want it, because the reason why creates hunger. And hunger is what you want to get, because hunger is what will drive you to keep pushing on and pulling on and going when things might get difficult, as they may. And that's what you want. So we're going to get into that. And you've got to have a very clear goal, a clear outcome, if you will. What specifically do you want from doing this? And then the next thing you do, once you figure out that, you figure out why. I'm going to go through an exercise in a little bit. Then you want to start paying attention to whether you're making progress towards that or not. And if not, then vary your approach. I see so many people that they set their goals in sand, their outcomes in sand, and they set their plans in concrete, and they just work through their to-do list, paying scant regard to whether they're getting what they want or not. Now, if that's you, certainly I've got some tools that can help you with that. But that's really important. Set your goals in concrete and your plans in sand. You can have a variable approach, which is why I'm going to give you so many different approaches to all sorts of things in this. You can pick the ones that most resonate with you right now. We're also going to use proven strategies. The fastest way to get what you want is to find someone who's already achieving what you want and model them, copy them, mirror them, do exactly what they do, and you will get similar results. And everything I'm going to show you here is stuff I've picked up from other men and women, books, videos, interactions with people, observations, etc. It's all a big kind of beautiful symphony of things that all work together. And for me, I stopped thinking about what I wanted for a very long period of time. I was lost for about 23 years, just going through the daily drudgery routine, just trying to get by, and just blowing around like a rudderless ship, which is bizarre when I look back on it now. Something remarkable happened to me in February 2024, this year, that completely transformed everything. And it came about actually on a course I was doing, a Tony Robbins course, and there were 3 questions. And those 3 questions transformed everything. And I may, during this course, bring those up to help you forwards with that. But once you know exactly what you want and why you want it, then remarkable things can and will happen, provided you take action. So let's do an exercise right now, if you would, please. If you haven't already got your workbook to hand, would you grab a piece of paper and a pencil if there's one to hand, or at least open a document you can type something into. And I'd like you to ask or answer a question, or rather I'd like to ask you the question, which is, where am I going to go with this? What do I want to get from this journey I'm going to take with Adrian? So what's important to me? And just spend a minute or so just scribbling down what you want to get from this. Maybe you want to lose a little bit of weight, 5, 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 pounds. So write down, what is it you really want from this? Could it be you want more flexibility? You want more energy? You want better life skills? I don't know what it is, but write that down. Now, the next thing I'd like you to do is to answer this question. Why is that important to me? And we're going to repeat this because most of the time when you ask why is it important to me to say lose 25 pounds or have more flexibility, whatever it is you want, the first reaction or the first response tends to be an intellectual one. And so I'd ask you, why do you want this? And then whatever answer you put down, ask yourself again, well, why is that important to me? And then ask the answer to that, say, why is that important to me? So basically you want to go 7 levels deep on this. Something remarkable happens when you do this. Normally, for me, it's around level 5, 6, or 7. I'll get an answer which actually is from my heart. And that's what we're looking for. You want to get something, because when you get your heart involved more than your head, you then have something that will keep you going even when things get difficult. You simply won't quit because you can't quit. So I would encourage you to do this. I repeat this exercise probably every 10 to 12 weeks now. It was something I learned from Dean Graziosi, a remarkable man. So it's 7 whys. Keep going. Why is that important? Why is that important? Why is that important? And just as an aside, I'll give you a quick example. I turned 60 in September 2024 this year. And I was doing this exercise about something I really wanted to achieve. And the answer number 7 as to why is that important was because your dad will be proud. And I thought that was bizarre because I didn't have the best relationship with my dad, which I won't get into here, but it was troubled. It was difficult a lot of times. And certainly we didn't spend a lot of time together until just before he passed in the last sort of 5 to 10 years of his life. And the idea that I was trying to please him fascinated me because I realized that my entire life, I felt that I was not good enough for him and I would do everything I could to please him. So that has been a driving force in my life. And I was so glad to get that out in the open. It actually didn't propel me towards my goal in this case, but it certainly helped me. Then I was able to repeat the exercise when that was out of the way and come up with something that did drive me. And I think one of the other questions to ask yourself immediately after that is, well, where am I right now? So please do make a note of where you're at so you can monitor your progress. And here's another quick question for you to ask. What kind of man do I have to become to get this thing that I want? Because that's a really interesting thing to ask. I ask that about if I want to really improve a relationship with a friend or a family member or even my lady, Helen, is what kind of man do I have to become so I can change me? The next thing we're going to do after that is develop a map, a massive action plan. Really, really simple thing to do. We're going to come up with a whole bunch of stuff and I'm going to help you get that from the auspices and the information within this course. I'm going to give you everything so you'll have a map and you can pick and choose which ones are going to be the Pareto principle for you because they're all strong ones. And then the final thing I'm going to get you to do during this course is I'm going to get you to pick the hardest thing and do it. Because if you slay your dragons early, you do the hard thing first. And this applies to anything in your life. But if you will do that, what you will find is the rest of the day is a dream. So every day when I get up, there's specific routines I go through, rituals I call them. And then when it's time to get to work, I do the hardest thing first because doing that means that the rest of the day for me is a walk in the park and it's not in the back of my head going, I really should get to that. Why am I avoiding it? And I have these stupid dialogues that go on. So I'll show you how to dive on that straight away. And I want you to know a couple of things before we start. Number one, do you remember a time where you just felt well, you felt lively, you had loads of energy perhaps when you were younger? Because if you do, I'm here to tell you, you can have that again and more if you want. And I know you can do this. The very fact that you chose and you got drawn to this course to work together with me so that we can help you, I can help you. You can do this. It might be difficult. You might struggle. It doesn't matter, brother. You can do this. I'll do everything I can to help you, to encourage you, to get you across the finish line. And you are not too tired. You'll have more energy from this. You are not too overweight. You can shift the weight. It's not that difficult. It may have been difficult in the past, but it won't be difficult. You're not too ill. You're never too ill. Your body is capable of recovering from anything. I don't care what it is. You are capable of recovering from it, unless, of course, you're so badly smashed and broken from some catastrophic accident that it might be beyond the realm of that. But certainly for most normal things, most normal illnesses and things like diabetes, like heart disease, like general aches and pains, like arthritis, like not being able to walk without crutches and stuff like that, all those things you can recover from. Your body knows how to do it. We just have to support it. And it's not too late. It's not too late. There is so much energy that can pour through your body to repair you. I've had the great fortune to spend time around some people in their 70s, 80s, 90s, even 100 years old that are full of life. They're vibrant. They're amazing. So in our 50s and 60s, we've got a long way to go. So I'd like also for you to start looking at any problems you might have in your life with regard to health or anything as actual opportunities. And it's a mindset shift. I can't even say that. It's a mindset shift. Sorry about that. And what I'd encourage you to do as well, as we look at anything to do with your health or any other area of your life, if you will spend time, only 5% defining the problem, and the remaining 95% of your efforts go into solving the problem, remarkable things will happen. There is no future and there is no salvation in constantly referring to the problem over and over and over and over again. I catch myself doing it even now. and I've trained myself not to, and I catch so many people recycling the same problem. It's like they've got this medal on them. Well, I've got this, I've got that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Spend your entire time looking for the solution, and remarkable things will happen when you do that. Absolutely remarkable things. Of course, you might already be doing that already. So I'm going to ask you to make a commitment to yourself to do something every day, something of the things we go through on this course together to help drive your health forwards. The more of them you can do, the faster you will progress towards your goal. But at least do one thing every day. Write down what you're going to do, and when you've done it, draw a line through it, mark down, checkbox it, whatever you want to do that you've actually done it. And use your journal for that. It's so important because you will start to see the progress. And I would suggest to you this forms part of raising your standards, and there's a little shift in the word, and I'm going to repeat it later in the course as well. If you will stop telling yourself, I should do this, because you end up shoulding all over yourself. If instead you take the thing that's most important, you say, I must do this. No matter what, I must do it. That shift from should to must means you'll get it done. So I move a lot of things from the shoulds into the musts, and I just work on them till they're finished, and remarkable things happen from that. And do remember that if in the moment you make a decision to do something, you take an immediate action to cement it, to move it forwards in that moment, rather than thinking, I must do that, I should do that rather. If you'll do that, you start a momentum off that becomes unstoppable. And now what I'd like to do is spend a little time telling you a little bit about me, Adrian, and about why I got onto this journey and some of the health challenges that I've faced. And some of them have been really difficult. Some of them have been very painful, but I'm still here and I'm still working through it. So in the next section, we'll get onto that.